Hi, I'm John.
And I'm Blaine, and today we're going to be counting down our favorite top 10 Easter eggs from HBO's Watchmen.
Thank you to HBO Max for sponsoring this video.
That's right, you can sign up for HBO Max right now and get several HBO shows as well as my personal favorite, Watchmen. We're going to get into it, but fair warning, spoilers.
All right, let's start off. What's number 10, Blaine?
Number 10 is in episode 8, a god walks into a bar. If you look on Ozymandias' desk, you see a little Vite action figure, a little Ozzy action figure. That was in the comic book, and now it's in real life, and I want it.
And this is in Karnak, so this is like back in time, and so this is back when he had all of his toys and all his merchandising going on. That's you having an action figure of yourself on your desk, which is just a boss move.
If I had an action figure of myself, I would definitely have it on my desk. But instead, I just have this ball. All right, number 9.
That's episode 4. If you don't like my story, write your own. If you blink, you miss it. At the beginning of the episode, Mrs. Clark, she's reading Fog Dancing, which is a book by Max Shea, the author of Tales from the Black Freighter, the comic book within the comic of the original graphic novel. The book also appears in episode 8. Ozymandias is reading it in his cell.
The art department just went hog wild. They were like, oh, we're gonna make this book binding and it's gonna be by this author that probably nobody remembers, but like the 5 super cool Watchmen fans.
It's a book by the author of a book within the book that the show is based on. I got that right. First try.
All right, number eight, moving on. Well, this Easter egg is a little bit more season spanning. You see him throughout, you know, the series, but specifically in episode 9, we see a decommissioned Archie, which is Night Owl's old ship that he would get around on. But I mean, also in episode 3, Night Owl's mentioned as being locked up, and we also get to see a painting of him in Laurie's apartment. Judd's cup in episode 1 is an owl, and in episode 3, Laurie has a pet owl named Who. So like, even though my favorite character, Night Owl, doesn't physically appear in the show, he's just like, you can feel his presence. Like if they just like pan the camera left, it's just like, but you don't get to see him.
All right, number 7 is from episode 1. It's summer and we're running out of ice. The episode is full of Origins of Watchmen Easter eggs. One is literally involving eggs, where Angela breaks some eggs into a bowl and makes the smiley face of the Watchmen logo, essentially. And then also in that episode, another Origins of Watchmen Easter egg is Angela puts in the code 1985 into the safe room for her bakery, which is also the year that the comic book Watchmen was released.
This is me every time I saw one of those Easter eggs.
One more time, what was it?
Oh!
Okay, cool. What's number 6, Blaine?
Number 6, that's from episode 2. Martial feats of Comanche horsemanship. Cal and Angela's adopted kids are dressed as a pirate and an owl. Why is this significant, you ask? Well, my favorite character, Night Owl, for one, but also the pirate is a reference to Tales from the Black Freighter. And then also another big one is the Mothman wings that the reporters were using. I kid you not, that is when I fell in love with the show. When that reporter just drops on the hood of the car, I was like, this show is wild. I love it.
It's crazy to think the idea of gadgets developed by superheroes being later appropriated by the public space and then used for such terrible little uses like paparazzi and such. Number 5 is from episode 3. She was killed by space junk. This Easter egg is more like an Easter onion, as it has a tons of layers that we're going to try to get through. The first layer, though, is that Laurie is telling a joke to Dr. Manhattan in that little phone booth, and she ends the joke at the end of the episode with Rorschach's classic line from the original comic, which is, "Good joke, everybody laugh, roll on snare drum, curtains," and it's darkly fantastic that she does that.
Roll on snare drum. Curtains.
And also, if you like really want to dig into the lore of Watchmen, I highly recommend reading the Peteypedia files, which kind of like flushes out the lore in the show and kind of what happened beyond the comic book. Something that they talk about is what Laurie and Dan did after the events of the comic book, and it seems like he readopted the Night Owl 2 persona, and then Laurie dropped Silk Spectre 2 and she became the comedian as kind of an homage to her dad. And like it goes on to say stuff like they foiled the Oklahoma City bombing and then that's how Dan got arrested and then Laurie did a plea deal. I mean, I was like reading that and I was like, there's so much information I'm gonna do. Speaking of Peteypedia files, who's Lube Man?
I mean, we know who Lube Man is. They haven't said who Lube Man is, but we know who Lube Man is.
It's Petey, right?
It has to be Petey. There's no one else. The show put a lot of effort into not just putting references to the original content, but attempting at all times to connect it and create this bridge between the content.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful bridge. Like the Golden Gate Bridge meets the Brooklyn Bridge. Beautiful big bridge.
Name one more bridge.
Number 4! Episode 5, Little Fear of Lightning. So you talked about Rorschach earlier in his famous line. Well, they did kind of do another nod to this character. In this one, alluding to Rorschach and their similarities in the comic books, Looking Glass is eating a can of beans straight out of the can with his mask halfway up, which I thought was just like, nice little nod. Tell me you haven't eaten baked beans out of a can cold before.
I've eaten them less that way than you have.
I eat it constantly. And when I'm alone in my underwear in my living room, I imagine someone asks me if I want to heat it up and I say, no, fine like this.
Oh my
and then
God.
I cry myself to bed.
Please don't have a mask. Please don't have a mask.
Moving on. Hey, John, tell us about fact number 3.
Top 10 number 3 is from episode 8. A god walks into a bar. A great episode. If you're a huge fan of the comic, then you will definitely recognize Dave Gibbons' signature style in the Bible that Dr. Manhattan has. Adam and Eve are created by the creator, Dave Gibbons himself. Also, extra fun fact, Dave Gibbons, when asked about this on Twitter, still attributes the art to Walt Feinberg, who is the fictitious creator of Tales of the Black Freighter from the comic.
They have such a rich universe, and Dave Gibbons is like staying in character even though he doesn't need to. The show's so good.
They all want to still play in this space because it's such good space to play in.
I remember reading Watchmen comic book and I was like, man, this world sucks. Like, this would be a really dark place to live in. I kind of want to live there now compared to our world.
All right, tell me number 2, Blaine.
Number 2, episode 7, An Almost Religious Awe. So this is a very deep cut. Found out in episode 7 who Kal really is. Spoiler alert, it's Dr. Manhattan. And it's made all the more sweet by his name, because if you think about it, Kal is a reference to Superman's actual name, Kal-El. That in its own right is like awesome, but then they went a level above it, and Abar, his last name, is found in the blaxploitation film called Abar, the first Black Superman. They had it right in front of the audience the entire time, and it still caught everybody off guard.
I've got Superman on my wall right now. I'm an idiot for not catching it, but I love that I didn't catch it.
When that fact happened, did you do what I do every time I saw an Easter egg and go, oh?
No, I
Did you do that?
yelled out the name of a bridge I knew.
Because every time I saw an Easter egg, I went, oh!
All right,
My neighbors called the ambulance. They're like, that guy's, something's wrong. Oh, that's all they could hear is, oh!
All right, we've made it to number 1, and it's a biggie. You ready for this one, Blaine?
I don't know if I am, John. Yes, I am ready.
Well, we're getting there anyways. It's from episode 8. Again, fantastic episode. A god walks into a bar, and it is about the bar that the god walks into. Manhattan and Angela, they meet at Eddie's bar. It's the same bar in Vietnam that the comedian killed his then girlfriend, and where at the time in the comic, Manhattan realized he was losing touch with humanity.
That's such an important part of the story, because that is where the comedian went on just like a completely different direction with his character, and then also Dr. Manhattan had this realization that he was just like totally losing touch. The fact that it happened in the same place, that's just chef's kiss.
It feels like the writers recognized in the comic book how much this bar was the fork in the road for the Watchmen universe at the time in the comic, and they wanted to make Eddie's bar also the fork in the road that was the crux of this entire season of the show.
All right, well, that was our top 10 list for our favorite Easter eggs from the Watchmen HBO series. You can check out Watchmen on HBO Max. I highly recommend it.
And thank you very much, HBO Max.
That's right, HBO Max is where HBO meets so much more, so go sign up for HBO Max now. You can enjoy Watchmen as well as a ton of other awesome streaming content. John, hey, who watches The Watchmen?
We do.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys.